Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode to another movie podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matthew, and yeah, it's a good night. It's been a minute. Got a little time to recharge our batteries. I'm ready to go. I'm also joined by my homies, Rico and Andrew. You fellas want to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead, Andrew. I'll let you introduce yourself.
My bad. I should have batoned that to one of you
Wait a
guys.
minute. No, hold on. Don't you take that tone with me. I was going in order because Matt said Rico and Andrew. So I figured you would go first and then me. So don't give me that tone, sir.
I always introduce myself last. That is, you can look at every single podcast before this. I have always introduced myself last.
Really?
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
wait a minute. I'm about to go look back on episodes when we're done recording. I'm gonna be like, let me see if this motherfucker's telling the truth.
No, he might be right. No,
Yeah? What?
maybe. I mean, again, I might have to go back and re-listen to a few of them, but yeah.
Yeah,
No,
every
yeah.
single. I
I
edit
guess I
these.
never really thought about it.
Oh my
till
God,
now,
wait.
so you brought it up.
Now that I'm thinking about it, no. Yeah, Rico's actually right. Shit.
Yeah, dude. I
My
edit these.
fault.
I listen to it like 30 times.
All right. I'll take the L. Hi, I'm Andrew here taking the L as I deserve.
And I'm Rico De Gallo, and I got the W this time.
Yes, and we have the most awkward intros.
Every time.
You know,
Hey, but
like
it's genuine.
that'll be the
genuine.
theme of our intros, though, guys. You know,
Mhm.
they'll be awkward and cringe every single time, but that'll be our charm.
That's our brand.
Hey, that's what gets people to click.
Hell yeah.
Oh man! I mean, yeah. But speaking of clicks, I mean, I wanted to mention that one of our recent episodes got really popular, and to whoever's listening to this, I just wanted to say thank you. That was really cool.
Honestly, that was really, really cool. We've actually been posting like screenshots of each milestone because we never had a video go over 100. So 100 views, that is. So each time it hit a certain milestone, Andrew would throw it in the chat, Matt would throw it in, I'll throw it in our little group chat. That was honestly really, really cool to look forward to.
It really was.
Yeah.
It's just like seeing how much the episode was getting attention. You're just like, dude, this is why we're doing it, so more people can like hear film talk. Like, it's what we're here to do. So just like Matt said, like, thank you guys because we love talking about movies. So thank you guys for listening to us. It's awesome.
Now, if we can,
it's right now at 496. Just
Woo!
a few more, and we'll be past 500. So, yeah, we passed several milestones. First one to 100, 200, 300, 400, almost 500. So, yeah, very pleased with that. And yeah, freaking, it put a smile on all of these guys' faces.
it
So,
really did.
appreciate that.
Now, if only we can get the Batman to 100.
Oh my god!
No, yeah, for real. Yeah, if you guys are listening to this, okay, yeah. If you guys are listening to this, and you happen to be like a newer-ish listener, please go back to the Batman one, please.
We're like 3 views away.
Come on. You don't even need to watch the whole thing. Just watch it, please.
Yeah, and then
Please.
follow that with the Megan and Child's Play, because that's our recent one that's also doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if John Wick trilogy can at least make it to the 20s, that was
nice.
That was a headache to get that one going. Like that was difficult.
Yeah, that was a gargantuan one right there. That one's 3 hours. So
It is.
yeah, I mean, we understand the commitment on that one, but
yeah, we get it.
You can listen to, I mean, at least one of the movies, which, yeah, coming in the future, definitely. I'm gonna start editing the description with time codes. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, there'll be intro, movie discussion or first movie discussion, and then pause, and then second movie discussion, etc. So, yeah, that'll be coming to the description soon. So yeah, once I have the time to edit all that in, I'll get it in. Yeah, if anyone's noticed, all of our titles changed. So no longer AM podcast. It's just all out there now. Another movie podcast. I think it sounds cleaner. And yeah,
it just looks much cleaner too in the titles.
it does. Mm-hmm. It like we're like just showing our full title and not like abbreviating. I like it.
No, I agree.
Yeah, especially when you're
Hell
on
yeah.
mobile, it takes up the entire first line, and then everything underneath it is like number whatever.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It looks very clean. Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, Matt showed me that the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's awesome."
Presentation matters.
Yeah. Enough of the cream of that. We can get into the movie discussion, but yeah, just one last final thank you guys. Yeah, thank you for listening, and yeah, are you guys ready to get into this first movie discussion?
Why, yes, I am.
Yes, and I just want to give a quick disclaimer to the listeners. If you're hearing me cough, like I'm going through a little thing with my throat right now. It's a little sore, so I apologize if the coughing becomes annoying. But let's do it. Let's get into this.
Also, if you hear a cat, I have to have my door open right now. So my cat's gonna be running around, and he's gonna be meowing at me. He wants my attention. We're so professional.
Dad,
We're so professional.
100%. All right,
hey, at least we're transparent about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats, let's get into the movie.
Okay, yeah. So, first movie that we're going to be discussing today is the recently Oscar-nominated animated feature, Puss in Boots 2: The Last Witch, starring Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, and Harvey Guillén. Sorry if I butchered that last name. But this follows the story of our feline friend, played by Antonio Banderas. It's crazy. I actually never watched the first movie, so this is kind of like my first. Besides Shrek, this is like my first introduction to his kind of spin-off series. And it's crazy, to be honest, because I've watched all the Shrek movies and a good chunk of the DreamWorks movies, and this kind of makes me want to go back and watch a good amount of their catalog. But yeah, I know I'm kind of jumping the shark here, but damn, I think this might be DreamWorks' best animated feature, in my opinion.
Big statement.
In my opinion, yeah. This story just like okay. Yeah, let me get into the plot of the story first, and then we can get into more about what we loved about it. Or I loved it. I don't know your guys' thoughts. We haven't discussed it at all, so I'd be curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. But I personally really love this movie. It follows Puss on an adventure to reclaim some of his lives that were taken at some point or another. So I like that this movie kind of keeps in line with that fairy tale aspect, and like, oh, he's a cat, he has 9 lives, and he has to go on a journey to restore some of those lives because he's on his final life, and death is basically on his tail, no pun intended. And yeah, freaking this movie has a lot to say for about like life, death, family, where you belong. Just so much is packed into this movie, and this is definitely, in my opinion, like one of the better kids movies that have come out recently. Like I put this up there with like also Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which also came out and which was also nominated for an Oscar, which you guys should definitely check out. But yeah, I love this movie. I love all the colors. I love all the themes that it's going for. Love what it's saying, and yeah, freaking, I love this movie. Well, what did you guys think? Let's start with you, Andrew. I'll hand the baton to you. What do you think, Andrew?
Baton has been caught. All right. I'm on the same page as Matt. I love this movie. It was so entertaining. It was visually just so appealing. You're just like, oh my God, they really they really pulled all the stops for this movie. It's just from the action to, like you were saying, with the story as well. Like it's a really, it gave me like Shrek 1 and 2 vibes in terms of like quality story, because DreamWorks has this thing, right, with their animated movies, like not even just like Shrek and Puss in Boots, but also like Megamind and the Kung Fu Panda movies. Like all their stories are very you can tell they like really put thought into it, and they wanted the story to make sense, and they wanted the characters' journeys to make sense and not feel like kind of out of place. And it's like really cool that they're putting so much effort into more or less a kids movie. So I love when they really take the initiative and take those steps to make a good quality film that everybody can enjoy.
For
They
me,
didn't have to go this hard on a Puss in Boots movie.
They
Oh my
really
god,
didn't.
dude, it was so crazy. But you know what? Enough from me. Rico, what did you think of the movie?
I gotta say, man, like this movie actually really surprised me because I thought when I had initially seen the animation style, I thought it looked like choppy, you know? I didn't think it was gonna be very like well animated, but then when I actually sat in the theater and I watched it, I was like, dude, this flows, man. This has like this is awesome. Like this is really, really cool. The things that they're actually doing, it's kinda like anime quality in a way, if you look at it like that.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
they really went with the 2.5D on this one. Like they really made things stand out so much more, especially with what Matt was saying with the colors, the vibrancy on it. Like everything just looks like just so like immediately recognizable as certain things that you've seen in other movies. Is like there's a few shots where and that's another thing that I like about this too is that it it does like reference like the Shrek series, but it doesn't like
Yes.
overly depend on it. It shows like a couple glimpses of like certain scenes in the past, and I really like
Mhm.
that. And I was like, this really does seem like it's a continuation off of that in a way that did it miles better than the first movie. I'm not sure if you guys watched the first movie, but
I have.
what was that?
Yeah, I was curious to hear, like, because, like, okay, so you guys have watched it. I'm the only one that hasn't watched the first one. So, like, I don't have the critical lens of that first movie. I mean, just based on my basic search of the movie, it seems like it's more generally well received for the
Mhm.
most part. It seems like it's much more of like much more of like a straightforward kids movie.
Mhm.
Um, so friggin', I don't know. What do you guys have to say about that, Andrew?
Well, I actually really liked the first movie. So when I heard the second one was coming out, I was kind of like, you know what? I actually really want to see that movie because the first one, it's just it's like you find out about Puss in Boots' like upbringing, like how he became Puss in Boots and everything, and that stuff was really cool. And you had the villain of the movie because you know they still keep in line within like fairy tale lore that the antagonist of the story was Humpty Dumpty, and they have a whole backstory together. And watching that movie, I watched it when I was a little younger too, back when it first came out. So I actually really liked it that much more. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like I think the story was very engaging and intriguing. I still think The Last Wish is much better, but I still want to give credit to the first one because without the first one, we wouldn't have the second one. So
Yeah, the antagonist of Jack and Jill, that's who it was, right? Like another set of
Jack and Jill was
antagonists.
one of them. Yeah, Jack and Jill
Yeah,
was in the story, but
they just
the main
they just didn't seem very like compelling. And when they finally
yeah.
like did the reveal with Humpty, like that was much better.
Hmm.
But that's something that the Last Wish does much better than the first one. It just has more like characters in it, you know? Like
Hmm.
I know that might be jumping ahead a bit, but I mean, there's like people in here that they start off as like very unlikable, but then they kind of grow on you. And then the main antagonist is like the best part of the movie.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. But yeah,
But before,
if you guys want to start from the beginning, Matt, if you want to take it away, and then we
Mhm.
could really dive into it.
Okay, yeah. Were you referring to Jack Horner uh, as the villain, Rico, just
I
now?
I was referring to
Bad Wolf.
Death.
Oh,
Yeah.
Death. Okay, okay. I was about to say, I was like, okay, because there's a few antagonists here. I mean, because I mean, it starts off with like Death, which yeah, I agree. Like hands down, definitely probably like one of the stronger aspects here.
Mhm.
And is he played by Wagner Mora
I think
Yes.
so. It's
or
listed as Wolf. So yeah, I
Wolf?
think
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like I was looking and I'm like, I don't see Death, but
No,
I
because
would
that
feel
was the
like
thing though.
Wolf
It was
is.
like because you guys kind of like spoiled it because you know how in the movie you don't know it's him until he like reveals himself.
spoiler.
That's why like when you said death, like I tried to say the big bad wolf and then you said death and I was
Oh, okay.
like,
Well, I mean, there is
I was
Full
just trying to
already
say
spoilers.
that. Sorry guys.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'll put that in the script, or I'll put that in the title. But yeah, going forward, yeah. I mean, hey, that was
We
my
already
fault.
know.
Usually we do
I
say
said it.
spoilers beforehand.
I think his
So,
actual name
okay.
is like Lobo or something.
No, that's just wolf in Spanish.
Oh.
Yeah, dude.
He said
But yeah,
Lobo's
dude.
real name.
I am Spanish, but I don't know Spanish, so I'm sorry.
He was very terrifying in this movie, though, because like at the
Mhm.
beginning, I love that it is like
It's
yeah,
hinted.
I like that we see our character in fear, and
Yeah.
I like how it does come back around later on, where he actually does admit to Perito that he's scared. Which we'll get
Mhm.
into that much later, but I actually liked seeing our character in a very vulnerable state at the beginning of the movie because he's like, oh shit, like this guy could actually kill me.
Mhm.
Like shit, like he's well choreographed. He can fight well.
Mhm.
Kick my ass easily. He disarmed him when they first met, like
Like
in the
nothing.
bar.
Yeah, and he was
Mhm.
talking
Yeah,
some massive shit, kicked it to
He
him, told him to
was.
pick it up.
Pick it up. Oh my god, bro, that was so badass. I was like, holy shit.
and again, like they didn't need to go that hard in this movie. Like I was actually surprised with the amount of like maturity and like how scary he was in this movie. I
And
was
they
just like, oh wow, there actually is like a threatening presence there.
yeah, and they
And I
also
just want to
broke
add real quick that Wagner Mora's voice acting in this was so good. Like his
oh yeah.
voice, like it was really fitting for this character.
Yeah. Something that they really did break like rules on this too with like his character because he actually makes Puss in Boots bleed. Like in this
Mhm.
child's movie, I was like, it took me by surprise. I didn't think that they were gonna show blood, like actual blood, in this movie.
Yeah, or show the amount of times, or like all the times he died. I mean,
Yeah, that was
obviously they're
funny.
all in very comedic ways, but like some of them are implied, like very brutal. I'm
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah.
what?
But
Getting crushed
goddamn.
by a bell. Doesn't he get shredded in one of them?
Yeah, he does, and then he gets blown up and I actually like that how the whole sequence is just like a montage of his like previous deaths. I like how this is a spoiler too, but Gingy from the Shrek movies makes a cameo because he's baking with Puss in Boots.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
That was hilarious.
yes.
I was just like, wait a minute.
He dies just from baking.
Yeah, he's like, I am a
Uh,
master baker, and then
Then there's one where he's like drunk and he's on the roof and he's like, cats always land on their feet, and then just walks
Yeah.
off a building.
And I just also want to add, I think you can tell Antonio Banderas is like having so much fun like doing this movie. Like you can hear it in his acting, his voice acting. I'm like, yes, this is what makes quality stuff, guys.
Yeah, another thing too about that is like this movie I felt like had like much more of an edge to it than other kids movies. Like it
Mhm.
had like, kind of like those like crude adult humor type jokes that I mean, hell, there's a bleep joke in this.
Mhm.
There's
I
a
was like,
bunch.
I think there's like two.
Yeah.
There was that whole scene. He was what was it? The
Perrito.
dog, right?
Yeah.
Pero he was like just cursing at what was it? Goldilocks and Three Bears. They were also in the movie, but they were in the trailer, so it doesn't matter. But when they were arguing with each other, and then the dog was there, and he's just like, "Oh, it's my turn," and then he starts like swearing, and there's so much bleeping. I fucking love that scene.
And then they're all like, well, I like him. We should adopt this
Yeah.
one. Like,
You know what? Now that we're on it, I want to talk about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I love how they give me like this like kid version of like the Peaky Blinders. Like they're like just British gangsters, and I'm like, this is fantastic. I love it.
the only exposure to the Peaky Blinders that I have is just from like shorts from YouTube. But I could really, really see that, like how their whole dynamic is set up.
Yeah,
Florence Puff. What's her name?
I love
Florence
the Peaky
Puff?
Blinders. It's one of my favorite shows. Go watch the Peaky Blinders too. That's another recommendation I'll throw out there. It's a great show on Netflix.
Yeah, Florence does a great job as Goldilocks too. I loved her
Mhm.
voice.
Yeah, she was
Yeah, very, very animated, very emotional. Like I think the whole voice cast here does like a fantastic job at bringing
Yeah.
these characters to life, and differentiating themselves between each character. Like everyone sounds very different, which I love. But yeah, I agree that like Florence Pug as Goldilocks, she does a really good job.
She does. I also really I didn't recognize his voice right away, but I didn't realize John Mulaney voiced Jack Horner. I was like, street smarts as soon as I heard his voice.
Yeah, I just kept feeling like he was gonna say, "I'm Jack Horner," and
he does actually. He's always like little Jack Horner, like just like doing that. Just John Mulaney's voice fits so well in like kids movies, and the fact that he's playing an antagonist is even funnier because the way John Mulaney delivers his, because I love John Mulaney's stand up. He's like one of my favorite comedians. He's fucking hilarious. So when I hear his delivery, I just hear like his stand up, and I'm like, oh my god, he's terrifying but hilarious.
What are some other movies that he's been in?
He was in Spider-Verse. He played Spider-Ham.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Which also,
I mean, the animation style is very inspiring.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Like that's what really drew my attention with this movie. When I saw the first trailer, I was like, "Oh, that shit looks like the animation style is very reminiscent of Into the Spider-Verse." So I definitely want to see it even more now. So,
yeah, I want to see more movies of this similar type of animation style because you could you have so many creative liberties in animation with these type of movies. So you guys will look fantastic. I mean, especially this one. I mean, like I said, you guys watched the first one. How would you guys compare this visual style to the first movie? Do you think this one is much more improved?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's night and day. I mean, I think the first one kind of struck me as like kind of like budget, like kind of straight to DVD type of animation. Not that bad, but I mean, it wasn't like mind blowing to me.
There's definitely like much more of a vibrancy and like much more colorful filled esque to this movie.
Definitely.
It has been like 10 years, hasn't it, or something since the first one came out?
Yeah,
I think 11 years. Yeah, hold on. I'm on IMDb right now. Yeah, 2011. Yeah, that's crazy.
12
I still
years
definitely
ago.
want to watch it now at this point, just to for completionist sake. This movie definitely made me want to go back and rewatch it and see if I like it more. I mean, I feel. Well, I mean, judging by your guys' reaction, I feel like I won't like it more. I mean, this movie definitely sets the bar high just for animated movies in general. To be honest, I definitely think in the whole grand scope of things, like of animated features, like this is up there in terms of like some of the best ones. Like the recent ones, like in my mind, that are like really great are probably like Spider-Verse is a recent one. I was a huge fan of Pixar's Soul. Wall-E was fantastic. And also Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Like, I mean, I know I mentioned it earlier, but definitely check that one out, listeners, if you get the chance. It's definitely worth it.
The thing that really impressed me about this was maybe I shouldn't actually say that. I'll wait. Never mind. I don't want to say anything because it's way too far into the movie when I say that.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can say these things whenever.
I mean, we've already hit spoiler territory, so you can just say what you want to say, my guy.
All right, let me tell you about
in chronological order.
Let me tell you about the very end.
Okay.
Yeah, so with this animation style, when we were just talking about it, I was like, yeah, this is gonna it really makes me look forward to what they're gonna do with the series of Shrek because at the very end, Puss in Boots and co. go off to far away to go meet up with their old friends. So I am really looking forward to the animation and how it's gonna grow in the future Shrek movies.
Yeah, because this movie definitely restarted like the love for like the Shrek because the love for the Shrek franchise has always been there, but now it's like it's back in like public domain in a way where it's like everyone's like, oh shit, look, a movie from like the Shrek series, let's go watch it, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this stuff could, like these kids movies could be taken a little bit more seriously. Could have like some more adult themes and whatnot, be more accessible across audiences. And like I said, I do think this one has like a lot more of an edge to it compared to other animated movies, which that is kind of like a DreamWorks kind of trademark. Like I guess it just kind of depends on whether you find a lot of the comedy funny or not. I found a lot of the comedy in this movie very funny.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the adult jokes work very well here. They're well thought out. They're well executed. I can't give the writing enough props. They really nailed it here.
The first Shrek movie really stood out to me because of all the like adult jokes that there were in that one. Like even the main villain's guys, his name was Farquaad, which was basically fuckwad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like every single thing that they were talking about is like, oh, look at that castle. Do you think he's compensating for something?
Compensating for something? Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many like adult jokes in it, and that's where the adult part of the movie comes in. But in Puss in Boots 2, there's like the humor is relatively childish, except for a couple bleeped out comedy cursing scenes. But also like the adult themes of this movie comes from like real stuff, like panic attacks, comes from like fear of death, mortality, fear of commitment. Like it's honestly like very adult in a lot of the main themes that go on throughout this movie too. So I kind of want to see what you guys thought about like some of those. Like Matt, what about you, man? What'd you think about like do you want to start off with like Kitty Softpaws and their whole backstory together?
Yeah, I mean, apparently the Puss in Boots left Kitty Softballs, which is played by Selma Hayek. He left her because the fear of commitment. I mean, she might have been joking. She says that she didn't go either. So, I mean, I feel like that for sure was probably a joke. It's very interesting too, because like another aspect where we get to explore a lot of these backstories is when they because like I said earlier, on Puss in Boots is trying to get more lives, and in order to do so, he needs to go to this realm and make a wish. And the only way to get there is to like look at it through this magical map. And every time the map is in the hands of somebody, it changes like forms and changes shapes, and changes to like volcanoes or caverns and like dangerous territory and whatnot. And it's representative of the intentions of each character. Like whoever is holding the scroll, it'll like when Puss in Boots and Kitty Softballs hold the scroll, their intentions are more like selfish, and they're more like they want to like they want to make a wish for themselves. They're not really thinking about other people and whatnot. And so, whenever they get the scroll, the landscape changes really shitty and it looks awful and whatnot. But then when Perito gets it, freaking, he doesn't want anything out of this whole movie, which I think is really sweet because, he's kind of like, the most innocent character in the movie. He doesn't want anything. He's very selfish. He just wants friendship, which is very sweet. Yeah. And when he gets the scroll, I think he has the easiest path. It's just like all rainbows and butterflies. They could just walk straight through.
Like I just love how wholesome Pero is throughout the whole movie. I'm like, he's literally he's a dog. Dogs are just like sweet and wholesome most of the time. They're not like, they don't have malintent. They just want love and they want to give love. It's just so sweet.
Yeah, and the thing with Perito is that like when he tells about his like growing up and everything, he's like, oh yeah, my family kept on trying to leave me. They kept trying to dump me off somewhere, and then I would find them, and then they'll try to do it again. And the last time I saw them, they put me in a bag and threw me into the river, and just could never find them again. Yeah. And everyone's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, super depressing to put in a kids movie. I'm just like, Jesus. Like, because you do get like a visual sense of that somewhat. He's very descriptive. Like what he's saying is very depressing, but I like that they're telling it through the lens of like this kind of kids movie, and it's kind of an interesting way of touching on abuse in some ways. Freaking I guess animal abuse more specifically in this case, but. Yeah, to get back to the when the map changes the the whole landscape when they're trying to get to the wish, I do like that it is kind of used to explore all these characters like backstories and whatnot, and what they really want, and it kind of gives all of our characters depth that you normally wouldn't get in any other kind of kids movie.
I think that's like really like shown through Puss in Boots is like a anxiety attack, which has been like all over like social media. I saw that before I even seen the movie. I feel like I was spoiled on it because if I had seen that in the movie, it would have really thrown me off guard. Like, how'd you feel about that, Andrew?
I actually really like that concept because one of the things that the movie really implies throughout is that Puss in Boots has this legacy of being fearless. And by the way, I also want to add his song at the beginning, "Your Favorite Fearless Hero." I think that's the name of it. That was a banger. Antonio Banderas can sing. I was like, let's go. I actually really like this song. I really like the panic attack scenes because it shows that you could be like the most confident, fearless, like ready to do anything, ride or die person, but something will get to you at some point, and it'll create like a domino effect of, whether it's bottled up emotions or feelings you try to like avoid or ignore, like it's gonna come back with like a fury and really mess with you mentally. And to kind of add to my earlier point about like the legacy of Puss in Boots, I like how throughout the movie he's literally doing all this like Matt was saying for like a selfish reason. He was trying to get more lives with the last wish because he wanted to keep the legacy of Puss in Boots alive, which is also why he left Kitty Softpaws at the altar because his one true love was his legacy, his name, everything he accomplished as Puss in Boots, because he's like this undying and fearless legacy. Sort of like, funny enough, I'm always bringing this up, but like how Batman is. Batman is like a symbol of justice and truth. Like he's the symbol of hope for Gotham. So that's sort of what Puss in Boots is in his own mind. Like he's a fearless hero, and he has this legacy that he needs to uphold.
He's the one that laughs in the face of death.
Mm-hmm. Fear me if you dare.
Yeah, and I like how it is kind of like an allegory for him to just have more appreciation for those lives, because I mean, the wolf brings up a good point too. Is like he thinks it's ridiculous that he gets 9 lives, and it is a good point. Freaking, and I think even he was like, okay, yeah, I don't even have anything to say to that. Like, yeah, I took all those other lives for granted, and I just did whatever I wanted. I didn't even care. Is there anything else you guys want to say about this movie, or do you guys want to move on to the next one? I mean, I feel like I'm pretty set on this movie.
Okay. There is one thing I want to talk about, which is the like just everything with the real antagonist, Death. I really liked everything building up to him revealing who he really is to Puss in Boots. Like his whistle throughout the movie I think it's gonna become like an iconic sound in a way. Like people will hear the whistle and be like, "That's Death from Puss in Boots, his whistle or whatever." So I thought that was really cool. And then everything with the final fight where he pulls up when everybody's trying to get the last wish. Him and Puss in Boots are like basically having one last confrontation. And when he knocks his sword out of his hand again, and he kicks it to him, and he keeps saying, pick it up," like I was just like, oh, all that buildup felt amazing. And the animation for the final fight was fucking dope. Like I love Death's weapon.
Yeah.
How it was like he could like connect it to be one big sai, and then he can have the mini size, and then how it could also like kind of the back edge of the blade could kind of like close, and it could become like sort of like a bladed brass knuckle. Like I thought that was really cool too. And just everything with Death was so unique. And I really liked when they're about to do their final battle and they have that interaction where Puss in Boots is like no longer afraid to die, but because he values his life. Like I thought that was really cool. And when he says, "Fear me if you dare," and then Death just laughs and said, "This is gonna be fun." Like that was everything about that was just so really cool to me.
Yeah, it really does show like the confidence of the old Puss in Boots that we know from like the Shrek movies and everything, but also with like him, like a sense of him being like mature enough to understand that this is it. Like everyone does die eventually, and eventually his time will also come, but he can't fight death forever. And I really like how throughout the movie he really does mature way more than I thought he was going to. He went from like the cocky brash guy, kind of stupid, to valuing every moment and the people that he has in his life, especially Kitty Softpaws.
And then also just Death's like revealing monologue where he's like when Puss in Boots is like, "You're no bounty hunter," and he's just like, "I'm Death." He's like, and I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or theoretically or he's like, "I am Death," straight up. And I was just like, oh my God. Like it was just that whole, like, again, it just adds to my point about Wagner Mora's performance. Like, he just really crushes it as Death in this movie. He was my favorite part of the movie, if I'm being completely honest. Even before I knew he was Death, I was like, all right, he's already one of my favorite DreamWorks villains. Like, just 100%.
Yeah, I wish he was a little bit more in the movie, but yeah, I mean, he still left an impact for sure. Like, definitely a great villain.
Even though he's not like really shown or has like much dialogue throughout the movie, he appears like in like small scenes, just like as like that ever looming kind of like presence, which makes him feel like to me, it made me feel like he was just like the centerfold, basically. Like he was like the main baddie, basically, with that, and probably having less scenes than Jack Horner too. Like he had the more impactful scenes.
He did. And then I just remembered something with Jack Horner. I love the part, because you know how Jack Horner has like that magic bag with all the like magical, mystical things that it's like an endless void. He can just take anything out.
Yeah.
I like how the what was it, the grasshopper from Pinocchio pulled up, and he was just like trying to talk to Jack Horner, trying to convince him to be a good person. But as the story progresses, he just sees like Jack Horner is like a terrible person. And when he captures Perito, and the little grasshopper's like, "You're not going to shoot a puppy in the face, are you, Jack?" He's like, "Yeah, I am. Watch." It's just like, it was great.
What I really liked too about Jack Horner was his like henchmen. Like all of them were just so down to be like the craziest sacrifices. Like,
yeah, holy shit, it was so great.
The baker's
you're
does
sure losing a lot of men here. Sure you don't want to do something?
No, they're fine.
Just using them as like bridges and stuff, and like they're just so fine with it.
Yeah.
Dude, when he tried to use them as like a bridge to get like his fucking tank across, and he just like collapsed on all of them, they all just fell down. I was just like, oh my god.
Then he was just killing a lot of them too, like all the time.
He was shooting them by accident, and he's like, "You got in my way."
Yeah, they fucking explode.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh man.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about Death and Jack Horner a little more, but I'm good to go to the next one if you guys are.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay, so just one last thing I wanted to mention too. Yeah, I love all the little like details to cats that they got in this movie. Like, for example, like whenever like he doesn't drink like his drinks normally, like he has it in front of him and he like licks it like a cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love all those like little details and whatnot. I thought it was really funny.
There's a lot of stuff. The only scene that I really just kind of disliked about this movie was when he went to I think it's like Mama Luna or something like that. She's the one that has all the cats. She's a crazy cat lady.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that really dragged for me.
A little bit. I could definitely see that.
That's fair. I liked it because like a lot of that crazy cat shit is, stuff I love cats. I could definitely understand it. A lot of that humor worked. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
And I also like how when Puss in Boots was at Mama Luna's, he was literally just becoming a washed up has-been. Like he grew out like a fat, nasty beard, and he was just like eating all day and just like sleeping and not caring anymore.
He's like, this is where dignity goes to die.
Goes to die.
Yeah, that's all I pretty much wanted to talk about. You guys ready to get into ratings?
Yeah,
Do it.
Let's go.
Okay. I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, as you guys can tell, I really love this movie. It's definitely worthy of the best animated picture Oscar. We'll have to see where that goes. There's two in that category I haven't seen yet, so I'll have to report back in the next episode to to see where those range. But this one and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, great animated movies, great themes, great writing, great voice cast. I love the action. I love the colors. I love this change of pace in animation. I really hope they continue to go down this path in general. More so DreamWorks. Hopefully this means we get another Shrek movie on the way too. The success of this movie has been pretty significant. I think the budget on this was like $90 million and it's almost made $400 million at the box office. And what's crazy too is like this movie is like one of those movies that it didn't even premiere #1 at the box office or anything, but it's been having such good word of mouth and just like a high audience reception, that it's just continually making money every week at the box office, which it's also Christmas time too, which that's also like a great time to release this type of movie. So I'm happy to see its success. I really hope we see another Puss in Boots movie. I don't know. Thematic wise, I don't know where they could go. This was pretty heavy thematically in a lot of sense, so I don't really know where they could go with a sequel. But I would be interested to see it, see where they go, see what they got. But yeah, as far as this movie's concerned, I love it. And yeah, we'll see if it wins that Best Picture Oscar. I'm gonna rate this a 9 out of 10. I guess like the only reason I don't give it a 10 is honestly I don't know. I guess that's just more of like a personal preference thing. And this movie doesn't really have like a lot of per se negatives about it in my mind. I think it fully achieves what it sets out to do. I feel like 9 is very fair. It could be a 10 maybe, but yeah, I'm very solid on a 9 for it. I love this movie, and I'll definitely be getting it. This will be a 4K buy. To be honest, like there is a difference between my buys between Blu-ray and 4K. They're very visually appealing. I'll definitely go for the 4K. So if they have it, I'll definitely get it. So 9 out of 10, 4K buy. What about you, Andrew? What do you think?
I mean, I love this movie. It's so cool. The art, the animation, the time and effort you can clearly see that was put into it, the voice acting, just all the themes and messaging about death and the legacy you leave behind with your life. It's really dope. And the fact that it's in a fucking kids movie, or like a movie generally aimed towards kids, it's really cool. So then it can help uh, kids kind of like understand the concept of life and death, but in a fun and entertaining way. So I'm on the same page as Matt. I give it a 9 out of 10. I wouldn't. I'm sort of like I give it a 9, mainly because how do I put this? Because I don't like. I'm also on the same page as Matt. I don't see a lot of negatives in the movie, but I feel like it's not like it's definitely worthy of a 10 if anyone else feels that way. Like no disrespect. I think a 9 is like a perfect rating for it. So 9 out of 10 for me too.
Nice. So I really enjoyed this movie. I am going to give it a 7 out of 10. And I'm not saying that as in I didn't enjoy the movie. I really did enjoy the movie. I just didn't fall in love with the movie. There's a lot about it where I really did enjoy like immensely. Jack Horner is a really great like character. Everything with him is just so like sadistic, and his whole motives for world domination and to just basically become like this big massive evil person with all the magic in the world and none for everyone else. Like his character is really like just an entertaining villain in this movie, especially considering how most of these kinds of movies have like very one-dimensional villains.
Mm-hmm.
Goldilocks and her entire family, they are very like you can already see where their story was going to conclude to, but it was still very entertaining watching them together because they had a great dynamic together. Puss in Boots and Kitty Softpaws, like I honestly I kind of like their dynamic more in the first movie. However, the mature aspect towards the end of the movie, like, it was very entertaining, and I actually enjoy how they just made a relationship seem much better once it's like more matured and has time like that. So I would give this movie a 7 out of 10 because there were some things that some of the comedy just didn't like really like land for me. I didn't really care too much for like the cute scenes that they had, and some of Perito's like scenes just kind of didn't feel good to me. But that's just my own opinion. I know a lot of people loved Perito, like in social media at least. I've seen a lot of stuff about him there, but For me, I would say it's a solid 7 out of 10. It's just a very, very fun movie to watch. But yeah, that's how I feel about it, at least.
Dang. Cool. That's one down, one more to go. So,
Dude.
yeah, you guys ready to get into my recommended movie, A Scanner Darkly, directed by Richard Linklater, however you say that?
Yep,
I think you said it right.
Okay, cool. Off to A Scanner Darkly. This movie came out in 2006, I believe. Yeah, it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. And yeah, it's based on a novel of the same name, written by Philip K. Dick. And it's basically kind of like an adult animated, like psychological thriller science fiction movie. It's very dystopic, and we follow uh, Bob Arctor, which is played by Keanu Reeves, and basically he is okay. So yeah, full spoiler discussion right off the bat. Yeah, so we're going to get into all these characters, who they are, and who they're going to reveal to be. But yeah, so we follow Bob Arctor, which is played by Keanu Reeves, and yeah, it's it's weird animated style, which is, I believe,
Oh, it's
okay, yeah. So the film was shot digitally, but they used interpolated rotoscope,
Mhm.
which is like an animation technique in which the animators traced over the original footage frame by frame. And yeah, so it definitely has a unique visual style to it. And yeah, we follow Bob Arctor, and he's basically kind of like an undercover agent. And we're in a dystopian type of future in Los Angeles where the war on drugs has basically like been lost. And there's a lot of crazy drugs out there, and this movie more specifically focuses on a drug called substance D. And approximately like 20% of the total population is addicted. And so, in response to this, the government has developed like a kind of like a very kind of intricate, high level surveillance system. Like literally, it's so high tech to the point where like you could be talking on the phone and they can track you down. Yeah, like visually, like there are so many cameras. They have all the voice recognition, and there are people legit trying to find you. Like there's a scene where Keanu Reeves is talking on the phone with Winona Ryder, and there's like a whole scene where like um, this agent is trying to like pinpoint who Keanu Reeves is because there's not a match. I think like from like a percentage standpoint, I think it said like 8% match. So you see this whole scene of the camera trying to get a camera angle on him, trying to figure out where he is location wise, and it's really crazy, and it's really freaking like it really hammers down like that dystopic future that is a potential. And I feel like this movie expresses a lot of the fears given the time period it was released in. But yeah, this movie was really interesting, and upon first watch, I definitely really liked it, and I really want to watch it again for a second time, which I really hope, I really wished I did for in preparation for this episode, because I definitely feel like it would probably go in that love territory. But yeah, upon first watch, I was really intrigued and I was really entertained. But yeah, I just freaking talked a lot. So, well, when do you go? Rico, I'm passing the baton to you. You start this time.
Okay, let me go.
Better be ready.
Drop it. Don't drop the baton. Don't drop the baton.
The disqualification. Anyways, so back to what you were saying about the interpolated rotoscope. That the whole animation style in this movie. At first, I really didn't get it. Like the first like 10 minutes, 20 minutes of the
Yes.
movie, it was very jarring for me. Like I honestly was just like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this movie. Because it kind of just, I was focusing more on the animation than I was like with what was going on in the story. It took me a while to kind of acclimate to it, and once I did, I actually started really enjoying the movie then. But for a lot of people, I feel like it does kind of turn them off from it, which looking at the reviews for the movie, a lot of people mainly only commented on the Photoshop animation on it. However, with that, the reasoning for that was actually it made the movie much better in my opinion once I understood the reasoning why they decided to take that route, even after they had already like digitally recorded everything, like they recorded everyone's like actual acting. It's because in that kind of like animation style, you can show everything like there's a lot of scenes where it looks like things are like sliding out of like vision, or like things are just like going up and down. It really does create what they were trying to do. They were trying to create this sense of how it looks when you're high. Like this like everything just kind of like focuses in, and then like kind of like just kind of like is constantly in motion, even though things aren't even in motion. They could be like a stationary object like a couch, but it looks like it's sliding out of focus sometimes. So I once I got the reasoning for that, I appreciated it more. I do understand why this type of style didn't catch on though, but everything regarding that, it really does set this movie apart from other movies. Like it really does have its own style, which I do appreciate though. Um, Andrew, how did you feel about that animation style, or anything that comes to mind?
I love the animation style. It was really because I hadn't seen a movie do that before, or like if there are movies that have done it before, I haven't seen them. So this was my first exposure to it. And as I was watching it, the art style was really encapsulating to me. I was just kind of like, oh, this is actually really unique. I like it. It's like it was something I hadn't seen before, so it kind of kept me engaged in that way. And I do like the opening of the movie, how it's addressing everything that Matt was saying, how like 25% of the population is addicted to substance D. And they also address New Path, this whole kind of like Scientology cultish like organization. I thought all that stuff was really interesting. And I also liked how, because he was an undercover agent, they had the scramble suits. And I think
Hmm.
the concept of the scramble suits was actually really, really dope. How it's always just morphing and disorienting. It's showing different faces when you wear the suit, so nobody knows who you are. Like I thought that,
Yeah.
yeah, since they're undercover cops, basically, is what made it super interesting to me.
Yeah, the whole suit thing was, I mean, I honestly thought what that was the main reason why they animated over it, because, trying to animate that, with CGI would probably be like a nightmare, to be honest. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I was finding like those justifications to make this animated, kind of weak, because I feel like I mean, there have been movies before this that can, simulate, drug trips pretty well. I mean, I know Train Spotting and,
Oh yeah.
Requiem for a Dream are kind of earlier examples of that. But, there is a way that you could have filmed it. I mean, I think the first scene was like visual sense that you get of someone tripping is like he thinks there's bugs all over him. And I was just, like you were feeling, Rika, at the beginning. I was struggling to find a justification for the animation. So I was like, why? And, kind of like you, I mean, I definitely want to ask you too, like, is this like something more of like an appreciation thing, or is this like an animation style that you actually like? Because I mean, I guess like I'm somewhere in the middle, because like I do appreciate it and I do like it in the sense that it does stand out from other animated features. And I also like all the points you brought up too, where like you can understand why this animation style didn't really take off, and you don't see a lot of other animated movies of this same nature. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, since there's no other movie like it, that in and of itself does make it special and stand out a little bit more. I mean, I guess I also just have to look into other movies that are shot of a similar style. but kind of this being my first exposure to this type of style, it stands out more to me, and it'll continue to going forward because it's my first exposure to it.
I can,
But yeah,
yeah, I
go
can
ahead, Rico.
completely understand that too, because like I feel like if I seen like other projects like shot this way or finalized in this kind of like animation, I feel like I would have been like less. I probably would have been able to acclimate to it much sooner and quick. Just like more, I feel like it would just be much more seamless because it did take me out of it a lot, and what I really did like about it was just the reasoning behind it and what they were trying to do, like as like an art form. I would put it like that. It was more so of an appreciation. Um, I don't know. I feel like it was still kind of like early on into that kind of like animation process. So I wonder if like it caught on like how it would look today, because this movie came out when did it come out, like 2007 or 2005 or
2006.
2006.
2006.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm
it did
really.
not make its money back either at the box office.
Oh no, it did
Yeah.
not. I actually looked that one
Nope.
up too. That was bad.
Oof.
Yeah, I feel it's weird because I was looking through the cast and I was like, "What the? How have I never heard of this movie?" And it's it's sci-fi too. Like I added it to my list a while ago based on that premise because you could filter searches on IMDb. So I think I was in the movie for like I want to look for high-rated sci-fis, and I think this just made its way on there, and I saw it was on YouTube for free. So I was like, what, fuck it, this would be a good recommendation. And like I mean, I'm still glad I recommended it. I still do really like this movie, and it might go in that love territory upon second watch. But yeah, this is still like a solid movie. I definitely do want to get that point across. Like this is still like a unique experience, and I still think all the acting and all the writing in this movie was really good too. Like I think the entire cast does like a fantastic job. Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder. Yeah, the whole cast is fantastic in my opinion.
Agreed. Sorry.
No,
My
it's okay.
dog's
I was about. I
my
was about. I
dog
was
is
like,
still acting up.
all
I'm
right,
like,
I'm gonna
God, come
baton one
on.
of you.
No, no, I got it. I'm sorry. I because I'm listening. It's just my one of my dogs, my boy dog. He just keeps like coming over and just like trying to jump on my desk, and I'm like, dude, stop! I'm recording. Go away. I love you, but go away. Not right now. But I also really not since you brought up Robert Downey Jr. and Woody Harrelson, I really love the scene where them two and Keanu Reeves are driving in Bob's car, and then they're have that whole conversation. I can't remember the conversation right now, but I love that whole conversation. But I do remember when his car breaks down, they have to call a tow truck because they find out someone messed with Bob's engine, and
Yeah, how this get loose?
yeah, exactly. Like, there's no way someone could have like done it, but like that doesn't just happen. Like they start freaking out about it, and then when they call the tow truck and they're driving back, Robert Downey Jr.'s character basically starts explaining to them like, "Oh, I set up a booby trap in the house, and I put a note on the door saying come in or whatever." And they start like debating and like talking about it. Woody Harrelson's character is like, "Are you lying? I can't even tell anymore. Like, are you telling the truth or like which is it? Like, did you do it or did you not do it?" And I like them three. Their chemistry together was just great in that scene, and throughout the whole movie, their chemistry is it's like really funny. It's like there's those moments of seriousness. Like it has a little bit of everything. So that's what I really liked about those three's dynamic together on screen.
That's like
Yeah,
a
and those like psychological mind games too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because it's like it's really weird because like they're burnouts and everything, but then they have like really like crazy moments where they just show like insane amounts of intelligence, like every single one of them, and it makes you feel kind of bad that they're like addicted to this drug because it makes you realize that these guys were like not like just dropouts or anything. These guys were like really really smart in their own fucking right before they took substance D. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a really sad like depiction of what any person could possibly just end up being too.
Yeah,
After.
and that was another thing too, because I know you looked, I mean, far more into this, Rico. So I mean, you could probably answer my question a little bit better. So they're trying to, so Keanu is an undercover cop, and he is taking substance. He takes substance D too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so he has to take substance D when he puts on the suit because why?
He doesn't have to take substance D when he puts on the suit.
Mhm.
Pretty much,
Okay,
he would just be undercover, and when he was undercover as well,
Fred
Bob
yeah,
Arctor.
yeah. So when he would
or
be
Bob Arctor,
when he
sorry.
would be
And
doing
then
that,
Robert Downey Jr. Catches on to that too.
yeah.
Mhm.
But like when he was doing this whole like undercover thing, pretty much he started taking substance D while doing it, and then he eventually just got addicted to it to the point where even when he wasn't undercover, he was still taking it, and it's revealed later on. Spoilers, by the way, this is a complete spoiler talk. Winona Ryder was in on the inside conspiracy from the department to get him so hooked on substance D that pretty much he would be completely almost brain dead and would be sent to this place where they suspected the blue flowers that create substance D were being farmed at, which is also the place called the farm. But
It's also part of New Path.
exactly, the New Path is the rehab center that's trying to help combat the substance D outbursts, but they're actually the ones that are manufacturing it, creating a problem, selling a solution, essentially. And pretty much they just used Bob Arctor, Keanu Reeves as a sacrificial lamb. And then, well, I was actually telling Matt this the other day, is that even throughout the movie, they were setting little triggers, like little something that could like be in Bob Arctor's like subconscious, and that if he ever hears something or sees something, even while he's brain dead, it's like subliminal messages. It would just like pop in his head, and he would basically recover what he needed to recover. And I have a couple. Did you? Before I start naming them off, did you guys ever catch any of that? Did you see anything like that, Andrew?
I definitely now that you're getting into that, I wanted to talk about the psychological examinations that Bob Arctor was
Yes.
going, and how the doctors mentioned the term cross chatter. How he will hear voices that from people that aren't there, or he'll see things that aren't there. And I love the psychological test with the cards. Like, I took a note of this part specifically. How first when he looked at the card, there was a sheep, and then when he looks at the card again, it's a dog. And I was kind of like, oh, is it like that terminology? Adding to your point of like how they made him so brain dead, he seems like a sheep, but he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, because he's an undercover cop. So it's like the Trojan horse or a wolf in sheep's clothing, basically. Like, they created him to be like that so they can have an inside man, more or less.
I didn't think about it like that. That's a good point.
hmm And because I also thought about that, because when you were talking about everything, how he was like a sacrificial lamb, I took a note of, because, again, we're in full spoiler territory, but when Winona Ryder's character meets up with that other character, I think his name was like Mike or something, and they're talking in the restaurant, he has this whole
Oh,
speech about the fucked up history of, like, like the concept of a sacrificial lamb, and how if you want to do something for the greater good, you literally have to sacrifice people even if they're innocent. And like that whole speech, I was like, wow, that's some deep shit.
yeah, exactly, man. Like, and the whole time that they were doing it, like, pretty much like in those psychiatric or psychology little meetups that they would have,
hmm
pretty much he kept Winona Ryder was actually Bob Arctor's boss, and
Yeah.
pretty much she was just there to pretty much get him way more into substance D, and the whole time he didn't know about that. Didn't know about that even until the end. However, he wanted to have sex with her because he started really really liking her, and she just wasn't complying. Essentially, she just didn't want to do it. So he asked the therapist person, like, hey, what do you have any suggestions? And the lady says, you should bring her flowers. And later on, when he does see like a little flower when he's brain dead, he's like, I need to bring this to my friends. And then Winona Ryder, earlier than that point, she even says that one day she wants to retire, go live at a little cabin surrounded by mountains, and just have her own fields, basically. So everything like that is supposed to be like triggering him to kind of remember her, even though he's brain dead. Realize that he is surrounded by mountains. There are flowers. There are actually flowers here. I should bring these flowers back to her. In which case, they can have the proof they need in order to shut down New Path and launch a full-scale raid, essentially. But yeah, pretty much that's what I had out of all the subliminal messages. I had more, but I don't think I saved them.
I mean, that's still like a huge strength of the writing to add like that amount of detail in this movie, and I definitely think it's like aspects like that that hold this movie up. Because I mean, like I said, this is definitely like a movie I like watch again on rewatch. I feel like I'll pick up on like a lot more of those details, because I mean, there were definitely like some parts where like I felt like I was a little bit lost, and I'm glad to have you guys to kind of like fill in those gaps for me. So yeah, I mean, it definitely does enhance my enjoyment of it a bit more, because it does make a lot of that animation much more forgiving.
Like it gives a reason to why they chose that style of animation specifically. Like it kind of adds to it. Like, oh, that's why they did that.
Yeah, and the characters too. Like I also really do like the characters. Like
Hmm.
they're very memorable, very well acted. Um, yeah, just wish the animation was. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said,
Not
it's
so
kind of an
distracting, huh?
oxymoron. I like it, and I also don't like it. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, this movie is just very rich in in its themes, and it's very focused on drugs and whatnot and addiction. Like I like that the movie does have like a tight focus on that, and it succeeds in that department. Um, I guess just for me personally, I guess I just don't have much more to say about it. I mean, unless you guys want to touch on any more aspects about this movie. Um, yeah, I mean, I did really enjoy this movie. Freaking, yeah, I wish it was a little bit stronger in some departments, like the music and whatnot.
Hmm.
I wish that was a little bit stronger. I did enjoy its, sci-fi themes and whatnot. Other than that, but yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys really want to get into about this movie that you really want to talk about?
Yes, I wanted to talk about Charles Freck, their other friend, the one who was shown in the beginning when freaking out, having all those bugs crawl all over him or whatever. I like
Yeah,
how he's just sort of like he's there throughout the movie, even at the very end. Like I like how when he tries, again, full spoilers again, he tries to kill himself by downing pills and drinking a bunch of wine. And then when he starts, like, I think what was it? He like took the drugs, but then instead of dying, he hallucinated this like weird Lovecraftian looking creature that basically read him an entire list of all his sins and his misdeeds and everything, and it's like a very long list, and he's just laying in the bed the entire time just listening to
that
everything.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was hilarious when you're like when they like they don't say everything he's done, but they like break down like, oh, he's done this is when you did that, on this day you
But
did
it
that,
goes
on this
into
day you
every
did that.
little detail, and
Everything.
like for like little petty things too. And I'm like, oh my god, like
Exactly.
yeah,
And I love
like that was
how
like a great visual I'm glad you brought that up, because like that
no,
was
dude,
like a
yeah.
fantastic visual.
And I liked how at the end when Bob is a part of New Path and everything, and they're doing that group therapy session, you see Charles Freck, but his head is just his head is shaved, but it's him because you recognize his face. He starts talking about stuff, and Bob, I think it was like Bob agreed with what he was saying, or he was just kind of like, yeah, I can like I get that point of view or whatever. So I thought it was cool that he was like peppered out throughout the entire movie, even at the very end.
And I also like how he actually kind of got help. Like, even though it is new
Mhm.
path at the same time, it's like he actually did change it up. He went from trying to kill himself to being like, no, I can better myself. I want to live, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also
the
want to mention the Alex Jones cameo that we got in the movie.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
guys remember that part where he's on the
yeah.
megaphone talking about new path is destroying everything. Now you listen to me, you son of a bitch. Like he's just sort of like just going off, and then new path literally pulls up in like a black van and drags him in. Like in my notes, I put what the fuck, Alex Jones, and then right after I was like, and he's gone. Like they just like got rid of him like that, like super quick.
I watched this movie twice. I did not realize that was Alex Jones.
I just
Oh yeah,
recognized
no,
his
I picked
voice.
up on that straight up.
I was like, that's
Wow.
fucking. And like, it's so funny because you know how he's known for talking about conspiracy theories and all
It
that
is
shit. So
actually
the
him
fact,
too.
yeah, it's him. Like, it's not like it's not supposed to be him and he's played by somebody else. It's legit him. And I was like, wow, we got Alex Jones for this. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so random. Like,
Hmm.
and the budget on this thing was 8.7 million. Very low budget. I
Hmm.
mean, like I said, it did awful at the box office. The box office was 7.7 million. So yeah,
Wow,
freaking yeah, hard L right there.
which is
But
unfortunate because it's a great movie.
yeah, yeah, definitely a memorable movie that I don't regret watching.
Mhm.
Definitely will. I would buy this on Blu-ray. Definitely. At some point I definitely do plan to buy all of the movies we discussed on Blu-ray. Maybe not the shitty ones. Maybe. I mean, I can still be entertained by shitty movies. To be honest, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I don't know. That might just be too shitty. I was kind of offended by that one, so like I probably will never buy something like that. But there's some other bad movies that I'd be willing to buy. But yeah, back on topic to A Scanner Darkly. Yeah, there's not really much else I really want to touch upon other than I really liked it. And yeah, I'm ready to get into ratings if you guys are.
Let's do it.
Before we do, there
Oh,
was
sorry.
one thing that I wanted to also talk about. I spoke with Matt about this the other day too. Is that uh, I did a bunch of research on this because I was, I don't even know why. The ending is what really got me interested in this movie, so I really wanted to learn more about it. So I did some research on Philip K. Dick, the writer of the original the story, and pretty much Bob Arthur is basically a character insert for himself. Like this
Oh.
very much so is like his life. So after his divorce, he started letting a lot of like homeless people into his house, and he got really bad on amphetamines. And basically, like one day he was like living a very happy life, and then the next day he's just in this really dingy, broken place that he used to call home, and he just can't understand how it went from that to this, and it all happened because of the divorce of his wife with his wife that he just spiraled. And pretty much it was just the whole like inspiration between him and Bob Arthur, and then the people that Bob Arthur surrounded himself with, because all of these people in his real life, they eventually developed either like very like that like very harmful like bodily organ diseases, or they just outright died. And he felt like there was this big conspiracy theory that the government was pushing these drugs to basically kind of just keep certain people down, essentially. And he just felt like the government was like this ever consuming, ever present body of force that just toyed with people's lives, essentially, which is very much shown in this movie with like the ever reaching grasp that the government has, basically, like through technology, able to just do all this surveillance and everything. And it just, he really did dive into it, basically. And this was considered his most personal book that he ever wrote. And his family was originally like hesitant about releasing the rights to have this movie animated, because back then animation was considered like child's like a child's medium, basically. So
Hmm.
I really do enjoy this movie. I'm ready to get in ratings. I want to go more in depth with it during the ratings. So,
Yeah,
uh, who wants to start that one off first? Matt, do you want to go last?
Um, I mean, I went first on the last one. I can go first again.
Okay,
for sure.
You had some more things to say.
I can get into it a little bit during my
Okay.
rating.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I really like this movie. It's definitely an animated feature that'll stand out to me when I add it to my collection. I like that I could add it to my adult animated collection. There's not a lot of movies that I could, put in that category. So, yeah, I really like this movie. The animation style, the rotoscope, interpolated rotoscope is very unique. Stands out. The themes of drugs, and getting sober, addiction, all that stuff is, it's all present. It's all very interesting, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really have much to say about this movie. I know Rico really went ham on this movie. Yeah, upon rewatch, I'll probably get a lot more out of it. But yeah, upon this watch, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. What about you, Andrew? What do you think?
I really enjoyed this movie too. I think similarly with like Puss in Boots, a lot of the themes and messaging is what really caught my attention. The art style is also something that kept me engaged with the movie because it was something I hadn't seen before. I really liked that aspect of the movie. And I'm sure if you really like analyze the whole movie, you could like find little problems like, oh well, how did so and so know this, and how are they able to do, like, you could, if you really analyze it, you probably could find the problems. But overall, I still really really like this movie. I love all the performances. Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder's chemistry too. Like, and then his chemistry with Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey Jr. And oh, just a quick thing. I also really liked Robert Downey Jr.'s character's speech in the diner, where he kind of just basically ends it with "This is a world getting progressively worse." And I was just like, I mean, he's not far off. Like, he's not wrong. So I liked all that stuff. How each characters had like different points of views about life and the meaning of it and what gives it meaning for them. So all that was really cool to me. So I'm definitely going to give this movie an 8 out of 10, just because it was almost a 7 for me when I first watched it. But when I started sitting down and thinking about the movie more and the themes and the messaging and sort of the characterizations of each of the characters and what they're representing in terms of addiction and how you cope with certain life traumas, I really liked it. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
So I watched this movie like twice, and I did a bunch of research. I didn't even intend to do so much research. I just kind of like fell down the rabbit hole basically, and really, really dove into it. Um, that being said, I'm not gonna rate this very high. Honestly, I'm gonna give this probably a 5 out of 10. And that's not to talk shit on it or anything. It's just really the first watch that I had, it was so jarring to me that I didn't even really pay attention to it in the beginning, and I was just trying to like get used to it. Uh, then it was like it felt like a lot of the middle was just filler until you get to the last like 20 minutes of the movie where everything starts like revealing itself, and it's like, oh, this there's this company that's pushing out this drugs, and you're the sacrificial lamb. We always knew about this, and hopefully our plan pans out by these subliminal messages. And I feel like if if this was something that I was working on, I would have rathered that be the bigger focus on it, because a lot of it is just a trip essentially in which they were going for. And what I really found the interesting part about it was the backstory behind the animation how they were trying to go for the trippy acid, being high looking visuals, the backstory with Bob Octor's whole existence being like a self insert from the writer, and everything that he drew inspiration from to base elements in this movie. The New Path was based off of XLA, which was uh, basically like a cult rehab type thing in his mind, and it was just like the real life inspiration to Scanner Darkly was way more interesting to me than the movie Scanner Darkly. I hate to have to say that, but I watched it twice just to give it a fair shot because it took me so long to get into it with the animation the first go that originally I was gonna shoot it for a 6, but then after realizing I was more interested with the real life thing, I had to drop it down to a 5 because I honestly don't think I would watch this movie again, but I would like to read the book. So that's my reason for giving it a middling score on it. Yeah, that's what I got. What was that?
Your score sucks.
I know.
No, it's all good. I mean, that's like I think the one thing I enjoy about our podcast is that we do agree most of the time, but there are times where we disagree, and I think that's always really interesting that we can have a conversation about the movie and point out the things we liked and didn't like, and just kind of have our own opinion. So I like that. I think I kind of like, because me and Matt have talked about it before. It's always more interesting when we all kind of disagree with each other in a way.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I mean, this movie has some crazy cool quotes. Like there's some like it's beautiful when it comes to like the dialogue and everything. Like there's a lot that it shoots for that it definitely hits. So it's just some elements, in my opinion, don't really mesh. But at the same time, like we don't always like everything that we watch. Like, I mean, or not to say that, but it's like there's some movies where we enjoy more than other members of the podcast. So it's like it's all right. I feel like it's better and more interesting to have like conflicting ideas or interests. So I mean, I think that's better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, that concludes Scanner Darkly. Our first all animated discussion, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So
yeah.
I wish we could have got Pinocchio in there, but that's okay. Freaking, if one of you watches it at some point, I would definitely like to talk about it in a future episode. But yeah, freaking, yeah. That's a wrap on AM podcast episode. I gotta stop saying that. Another movie podcast episode number. I believe this is what, number 15.
15, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Yeah. So freaking. That's it's another one for the books, boys.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you, Matt. Did you want to reveal our intentions of a secondary series?
Yeah, we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. Yeah, we'll get more into that next time. But yeah, we definitely have some interesting things to come. Maybe another channel. Yeah, we'll get more into it next time. Definitely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that about does it for this episode. Yeah, make sure to follow all of our socials in the link below. There is one more thing I wanted to add. I've actually recently been doing letterbox reviews. I will every once in I've been trying to do it once a day. I'm not doing a great job at it, but I've done about like 15, 16 films this year. But I'm trying to make it a habit of writing just a general summary of movies that I watch. Nothing very complex. It's not like you have to read paragraph upon paragraph, but yeah, just a general summary of some movies that I like. I like to put my thoughts out there. So yeah, I'll be putting my Letterbox account in the link below as well. So if there are any Letterbox members out there, yeah, if you follow me, I will follow back. Yeah, let's check out each other's ratings. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to plug in? And then I think I think Andrew's next for recommendation. So yeah, take it away, Andrew, Rico. I don't know who to pass the baton to.
Well, before you get into your recommendations, let me just plug in Practically Done. We finally have what we need to do more videos for that. And now it just comes down to writing out a script and then just filming it and getting the time to be together. Because the stuff that we have the potential to do is fucking mind-boggling. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's finally happening. Okay? Very happy about that. But yeah, Andrew, if you want to go into your recommendations, man, go right on ahead.
All right, let's do this thing. So I was having some trouble thinking of what to recommend this time around. But I wanted to keep like the whole theme concept going since we've been going for themes. So my next recommends are going to be horror based, which I know you guys are going to enjoy. So my recommendations for our next episode are going to be A Knock at the Cabin, starring Dave Bautista and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And then my personal recommend is going to be The Void.
Oh.
So I'm very excited to get those two conversations out there with you guys because we're all horror fans here. We love talking horror, so very excited to delve into those. It's going to be very exciting. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it, and I can't wait to have the conversation with the guys about it.
Oh yeah, me too, man. That's actually gonna be really, really cool.
All right, cool. So A Knock at the Cabin, in Void. All right, cool. All right, yeah. So I already plugged in what I needed to. So yeah, thank you for listening, and yeah, we'll catch you for the next episode, number 16. Have a good one, guys.
Later, dudes.
Bye, guys. Thanks again for listening, as always.